The text came at 2 a.m., slicing through the quiet of my Brooklyn apartment like a knife. I'm sorry, Evan, but I can't do this. I'm back with Derek. My world stopped at me, fiancé. Caleb, the man I'd planned a life with, had just shattered our future in a single message. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the phone, the glow burning my eyes. 3 years of love, of late-night talks about our dream wedding in Hawaii, of promises whispered under the stars all gone. Caleb's ex, Derek, had always lingered like a ghost, but I never thought he'd win. The next morning, I woke to a hollow ache in my chest. Our honeymoon was booked for Oahu in 2 weeks, a non-refundable trip we'd saved for over a year. I could cancel, wallow in self-pity, and let Caleb's betrayal define me. Or I could go alone. The idea felt reckless, even absurd, but something in me snapped. I wasn't going to let him steal this too. Packing was a blur. I threw clothes into a suitcase, ignoring the voice in my head screaming that this was a mistake. At 28, I'd built a life I was proud of, a graphic designer with a decent freelance gig, a cozy apartment, and a circle of friends who'd have my back. But Caleb was my anchor, the one who made it all feel complete. Now, I was unmoored, drifting toward an island I'd dreamed of sharing with him. The flight to Honolulu was a haze of turbulence and cheap wine. I landed with a headache and a heart still raw. The resort was everything we'd imagined, turquoise waves lapping at white sand, palm trees swaying in the breeze, and air thick with the scent of plumeria. But every couple holding hands felt like a reminder of what I'd lost. I checked into our Soot, a room with a balcony overlooking the ocean, and collapsed onto the bed. What was I doing here? The first day, I forced myself to explore. I wandered Waikiki Beach, the sun hot on my shoulders, trying to lose myself in the rhythm of the waves. I ate shave ice alone, the syrup dripping onto my shirt, and laughed bitterly at how pathetic it felt. By evening, I was back at the resort's bar, nursing a Mai Tai and scrolling through old photos of Caleb and me. Delete. 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 Each swipe felt like carving him out of my heart. That's when I saw him. Across the bar, a man sat alone, sketching on a napkin. He had dark curls falling into his eyes, a quiet intensity in the way his pencil moved. He looked up, catching my gaze, and smelled a small, unguarded thing that hit me like a spark. I looked away, cheeks burning. I wasn't here for this. I wasn't ready. But he stood, walked over, and slid into the stool beside me. You look like you're carrying the weight of the world, he said, his voice warm with a faint southern drawl. I laughed, more out of surprise than humor. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been there. He extended a hand. I'm Lucas. Evan, I said, shaking it. His grip was firm, his eyes a deep hazel that seemed to see right through me. Lucas was 30, an artist from Savannah who'd come to Oahu for inspiration. He'd been through a breakup too, though he didn't dwell on it. Instead, he talked about the island, how the light here felt alive, how the waves told stories if you listened. I found myself relaxing, the knot in my chest loosening as we traded stories over drinks. He was easy to talk to, his laugh soft but infectious, and for the first time in days, I didn't feel alone. The next morning, I ran into him at the resort's coffee shop. He was sketching again, This time a quick study of the barista pouring latte art. Join me for a hike, he asked, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I hesitated. I'd come here to heal, not to fall for someone new. But his smile was disarming, and I said yes. We hiked Diamond Head, the trail winding through volcanic rock under a blazing sun. Lucas pointed out native plants, his enthusiasm pulling me out of my head. At the summit, we stood side by side, the Pacific stretching endlessly before us. You ever feel like the world's giving you a second chance? He asked, his voice quiet. I looked at him, the wind tugging at his curls, and felt something shift. Maybe, I said, but I'm not sure I'm ready to take it. He nodded, no judgment in his eyes. That's okay. Sometimes you just have to show up. That night, we shared dinner at a beachside restaurant, the kind with fairy lights and live ukulele music. Lucas told me about his art, how he'd once painted a mural for a community center in Savannah, pouring his heart into every stroke. I told him about my designs, how I loved creating something that could move people. We talked until the restaurant closed, the stars bright above us. When he walked me back to my room, his hand brushed mine, and I didn't pull away. Over the next few days, Lucas became my unexpected companion. We explored Oahu together, snorkeling in Honeymoon Bay, wandering the North Shore's food trucks, watching surfers carve through waves at Sunset Beach. Each moment with him felt like a brushstroke on a blank canvas, painting over the pain Caleb left behind. But doubt lingered. Was I just running from heartbreak? Could I trust this feeling? Or was it a fleeting escape? One afternoon, we kayaked to a small island off Kailua Beach. The water was so clear I could see fish darting beneath us. Lucas paddled with steady strokes, his shirt clinging to his shoulders in the heat. We reached the shore and collapsed onto the sand, laughing, breathless. He turned to me, his eyes bright. You're different out here, Evan. Freer. I wanted to tell him he was the reason, but the words caught in my throat. Instead, I splashed him with water, and he tackled me into the surf, our laughter echoing across the beach. For a moment, it was just us, no past, no fears, just the salt on our skin and the sun in our eyes. That night, back at the resort, we sat on my balcony, sharing a bottle of wine. The ocean murmured below, and the air was heavy with possibility. Lucas set his glass down and looked at me, his expression serious. Evan, I need to be honest. I like you. More than I expected to. But I don't want to push you into something you're not ready for. My heart raced. I wanted to lean in, to close the distance between us. But Caleb's betrayal still haunted me. I like you too, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But I'm scared. I thought I knew what love was, and it broke me. He reached for my hand, his touch gentle but steady. Love doesn't have to break you. Sometimes it's just showing up. Every day, even when it's hard. I squeezed his hand, tears stinging my eyes. For the first time, I let myself imagine a future without Caleb, one where I could be happy, where I could be enough. Lucas didn't push, didn't ask for more than I could give. He just stayed, his presence a quiet promise. The next day, everything changed. I was at the resort's pool when my phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. I made a mistake. Can we talk? I'm in Oahu. My stomach dropped. He was here, on the island. The man who'd shattered me was now close enough to reach out and break me again. I didn't tell Lucas at first. I couldn't. We spent the day touring Pearl Harbor, his hand occasionally brushing mine, his voice steady as he talked about history and art. But my mind was elsewhere, tangled in Caleb's words. What did he want? Why now? When Lucas noticed my distraction, he didn't pry, just gave me space. That only made me feel worse. That evening, I agreed to meet Caleb at a cafe in Waikiki. He was there when I arrived, his blonde hair tousled, his eyes tired. He looked like the man I'd loved, but something was different, smaller. Somehow. Evan, I was wrong, he said, his voice breaking. Derek was a mistake. You're the one I want. I waited for the words to hit me, to pull me back into his orbit. But all I felt was anger. You left me, Caleb. You didn't even give me a chance to fight for us. I know, he said, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. I'm here now. We can fix this. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor. You don't get to decide that. Not anymore. I walked away, my heart pounding, but lighter than it had been in weeks. For the first time, I realized I didn't need him to feel whole. When I got back to the resort, Lucas was waiting on the beach, sketching the horizon. I told him everything about Caleb, the text, the meeting. He listened, his eyes steady, no hint of jealousy or judgment. When I finished, he set his sketchbook down and pulled me into a hug. You're stronger than you know, he whispered. I buried my face in his shoulder, the warmth of him grounding me. I don't want to be afraid anymore, I said. Not with you. He pulled back, his eyes searching mine. Then he kissed me, soft and tentative, like he was asking permission. I kissed him back, and for the first time, I let myself fall. The rest of the trip was a whirlwind of moments I'd never forget. Lucas and I watched sunsets from Lanikai Beach, our hands intertwined as the sky burned orange and pink. We danced at a luau, his laughter warm against my ear as we stumbled through the steps. Every touch, every glance, felt like a step toward something real. But the trip was ending, and with it came the question, what now? On our last night, we sat on the beach, the waves lapping at our feet. The stars were bright, the kind of sky that made you feel small but infinite. Lucas traced circles in the sand, his voice quiet. I'm going back to Savannah tomorrow. I don't know what this is, Evan, but I don't want it to end here. My heart ached. I'd come to Oahu to escape, to heal, but I'd found so much more. I don't either, I said. But I live in Brooklyn. You're in Savannah. How do we make this work? He looked at me, his eyes fierce. We make it work because it's worth it. You're worth it. I thought about Caleb, about the years I'd spent trying to be enough for someone who didn't see me. Lucas saw me very broken piece. Every hope and he stayed. I leaned in and kissed him, the taste of salt and possibility on his lips. Let's try, I whispered. The next morning, we said goodbye at the airport, promising to call, to visit, to figure it out. I flew back to Brooklyn, my heart full but heavy with the distance between us. The city felt different now, less like a place to hide, more like a place to start over. I threw myself into my work, designing with a passion I hadn't felt in months. Lucas and I talked every night. His voice a lifeline across the miles. 2 months later, he came to New York. I met him at JFK, my hands shaking as I spotted him in the crowd. He dropped his bag and pulled me into a hug, and it felt like coming home. We spent the weekend wandering the city Central Park, the High Line, a tiny diner in the village where we shared fries and planned our next trip. Hawaii had been the start, but this was the beginning of something more. Over the next year, we built a life together, one visit at a time. I flew to Savannah, falling in love with its moss-draped oaks and Lucas's tiny studio filled with half-finished paintings. He came to Brooklyn, sketching the skyline from my apartment's fire escape. We fought sometimes about distance, about time, about the little things that test any relationship, but we always came back to each other. On the anniversary of our trip to Oahu, Lucas took me back to Hawaii. We stood on the same beach where we'd first connected, the waves whispering memories. He pulled a small box from his pocket, his hands trembling. "Evan, I don't have all the answers," he said, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring. "But I know I want to figure them out with you. Will you marry me?" Tears blurred my vision as I nodded, unable to speak. He slid the ring onto my finger, and we kissed under the stars, the ocean singing its approval. Caleb's betrayal had broken me, but it had also led me here to a love that didn't demand I be anything but myself. We married 6 months later in a small ceremony on that same beach, surrounded by friends and the sound of waves. Lucas's vows were simple. I promised to show up every day for you. Mine were a vow to myself as much as to him, to choose love, to choose trust, to choose us. Looking back, I don't regret the heartbreak. It taught me what I deserved, what I could fight for. Caleb took a piece of me, but Lucas gave me something better, a love that saw me, held me, and never let go. And as we stood on that beach, hand in hand, I knew I'd found the one who treated me right.